Saban leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Saban was where you went. I studied recruiting in the South quite a bit. There were these guys. It's funny because you know how Notre Dame is always has the number one ranked class like 2 years out because they identify
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame guys and then everybody else passes them. But there's a certain type of academic minded player who really
Yeah.
wants to go to Notre Dame, or they're just from Archbishop Moeller and they just commit when they're like sophomores. It's like that. Alabama was the magnet for guys who were just like, this is a business. I'm going to spend 3 years there. I'm going to hit the weight room, learn
Mm-hmm.
technique, and go to the NFL. That was that. I feel like Kirby coming in has changed that a little bit, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But Saban leaving does what to the pipeline from preps to pros?
It will change the pipeline and diversify it somewhat. It'll shunt a bit of that over to Georgia as if that
Yep.
wasn't already pretty skewed. I think also you'll get a different kind of player at Alabama because you just have different people recruiting them. So I don't think
Mhm.
you're necessarily going to get the same kind of a eval. I imagine that Kalen DeBoer is probably going to keep or probably has kept. I don't have the staff list in front of me, but I imagine a lot of that recruiting apparatus and the eval
Mhm.
probably going to stay in place. Like I don't think, and not that that's a big surprise. It wasn't like Alabama was pulling. They did some of this, but it wasn't like they were pulling a whole lot of 2-star guys who turned out to be 5 stars. It
Right.
wasn't like they were doing a whole lot of development from the 2-star up to the 5-star line. No, they weren't doing a lot of that because they were recruiting a lot of people that were already well recruited. There's also the effect of if Bama does find one of those guys, suddenly their stocks all rise.
Yep.
Ooh, Alabama's interested in that guy. We better line up at the trough too.
Yep.
So I think it does change the pipeline somewhat, but not as much as you might think, because one, I think Kalen DeBoer is going to get on the stick pretty quick. I think he's not just competent, but pretty good at this. And if he's not really great at SEC recruiting yet, I think he's going to get good because he definitely has the resources to, which is an important part of it. And he's got the incentive to as well, because now the knife is at the back of his neck. He's got the Sword of Damocles. That's what you do as Alabama's coach, is you sleep under the Sword of Damocles every night and hope it doesn't fall. And that's him now. It won't change as much as people think because Alabama's always a pull. Alabama's always go back and look. I think people
Mhm.
have forgotten this because there is a troubled period in the 2000s where they have some off seasons. They do not have a string of bad seasons like some programs. Go Gators. That's not something they do for long. You might have a 4-win season, but they're going to rise back up because the overall institutional commitment to football is too strong for them to tolerate falling that long.
Give me something.